The animation of this work was created using Adobe Animate. This first animation shown here was created using a series of motion tweens to rapidly scale the background images, creating the illusion of a zoom. The majority of the animation was completed using the frame-by-frame method, in which each frame was drawn individually with subtle differences between successive frames to create the illusion of motion. The line work of the character's main body was completed first, with the colouring shortly following. The elemental animations were completed similarly, however on a separate layer underneath the main body for the dragon and above for the water nymph. The colouring was done by creating a solid shape and then using the fill tool to completely colour the specified space. The fill tool requires the space to be fully enclosed. At times the spaces to be coloured were not fully enclosed and the hole had to be filled before moving on to the next frame. The colouring was done on the same layer as the line work to maintain simplicity in the organisation of the layers. As the animate files got larger, the frequency of the crashes became more prominent. These crashes required the program to be restarted, and so some work was almost always lost. At times the autosaves were relied upon as work had not been manually saved in a while. The elemental/background effects were drawn on separate layers in a separate folder. This led to thousands of frames within a small on-screen time frame. This increased the frequency of the crashes. The water nymph was completed in a similar fashion to the fire dragon. Accent colours were completed first, as this made the onion skinning layers easier to see and match to. Then the body colour filled the remaining space. Colours were picked up from previous animations using the dropper tool to maintain a colour scheme throughout. Footage was compiled in Premiere Pro. Shockwave flash files were imported into After Effects and then were imported into Premiere to be assembled as the animation. This was done as the Shockwave flash file provides the highest quality, however is incompatible with Premiere Pro. After Effects was used for additional effects that could not be completed in Premiere or Animate. This included rain, chroma keying, follow focus, masking and importing Shockwave flash. The rain was created in After Effects. First the white solid is created and then the simulation CC rainfall is attached to the solid. Composite with original is removed, forming the effect of rain. The consistent spacing, position and offset of the rain can be edited to produce the desired effect. A mask was used to make the student number appear as the character runs off screen. A mask is created by selecting a layer, here the text layer, and then using the pen tool to create points around the area to be visible. This shape is then animated frame by frame to make the number appear behind the character. The number appears backwards. This error occurs as the animation was completed before the effect was chosen. With more foresight, the character would have run off-screen right rather than off-screen left. Chroma keying was employed to create the aperture effect known as follow focus. In Animate, the scenes were animated as usual with each layer of the shot distinctly separate. The solid background was then input between each layer isolating it. These were individually exported. In After Effects, the Key Light 1.2 effect was added to each layer and the background colour was keyed out. The first background colour was pink. It was not contrasting enough and resulted in the warm colours also being keyed out. This colour was changed to blue. Another effect, a camera lens blur, was added to the dragon's body and head to simulate the positioning of a macro shot. On the dragon's head layer, a blur animation was created simulating his face coming into the camera's field of focus. The backgrounds were made in Photoshop. Using the drawing tablet to interact with the screen allows for pen pressure to be used to create lines of varying thickness. The canvas sizes were set to quite large, 3x1080p, to ensure that even when zoomed they remain of high quality. The process was first to draw a rough sketch. The opacity on this layer was then lowered and the final line work is then drawn on the layer above. The colouring is then completed with each colour on its own individual layer underneath the line art. This ensures that the layers are easily manipulated in case of error. Like the backgrounds, their effects were completed in Photoshop. This background has a radial blur effect added using the Smart Layer effects. These effects add another layer of realism to the background, where the layers of the backgrounds outside the camera's focus are blurred. Sound effects are recorded using a noise-cancelling microphone and an iPhone. These sounds were edited in Audition, formerly known as Sound Booth. The background noise was removed using the noise reduction process, in which a small sample of the noise is captured using the Capture Noise Point button, and then applied to the entire sound. The sound floor can be edited to better isolate the noise frequency. This process is destructive to the file, and so a second copy of the original should be at hand in case of error. The sound effects were compiled in Premiere Pro. Simple effects such as cuts and volume were adjusted here. A problem was encountered that Premiere only allows for volume to be increased by 6 decibels, and so balancing the sounds requires more reduction than increase. However, this allowed for loud sounds, like the thunder, to become an effective contrast. The DVD menu was made in the now discontinued Adobe Encore CS6. A motion menu of custom buttons and highlights was created. The motion aspect was created as a video file in Premiere, then exported as an MP4. The menu and buttons were made in Photoshop. All these were imported and connected using the lasso tool. From this, the completed video of work and animation can be tied to the buttons on the menu.